5, 4, 3, 2.
Tier 1 performance.
Welcome back to the In and Out Talks podcast, powered by Tier 1 Performance. Your host here, Mitch Matulia. Today we got a special guest, former Division I baseball player, started his career at West Virginia University before transferring to San Jacinto Junior College, finishing up at Baylor University. Tucker Cascadden, welcome to the show, my friend.
How we doing? Hell of an intro. Yeah, no, I'm. God, dude, it's been years, and I know we ran into each other at Gabe's facility opening, and that's when you kind of drop like the come on invitation.
Absolutely.
So no, dude, it's great to catch up after all these years, man. And honestly, like just thinking back at, you know, the flashbacks of playing ball together with the Heat and like the Vinny and Price stories just all mixed in, man.
Dude.
I know we've shared some pretty historical moments and some random towns playing summer ball. So no, dude, I appreciate you having me for sure.
Absolutely, dude. We had some great stories, a lot of great stuff that we're going to get into today. But first and foremost, just for our guests out there, man, a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, a little bit about your athletic background throughout your childhood.
Yeah, no, born and raised Houston, Texas. When I say Houston, Texas, I mean like 10 minutes from downtown. Like I'm a pretty inner city kid. Yeah. I specifically grew up in like the Galleria area, I would say, San Felipe, Memorial-ish, kind of in that Briar Grove area, Tanglewood. Mm-hmm. Man, just sports background. Like I've honestly, like baseball was like my whole life. I played 1 year of 8th grade football.
Yeah.
And main position was kicker. And I was kind of good at it.
You had a boot?
I had, like, I remember, like, a specific, I guess, maybe not a milestone, but, like, it was pregame. So most middle school football teams, like, don't do, like, a field goal progression.
Right.
Because there's just no kids that can kick field goals.
Go for two.
And so we would, it's auto, go for two. And even in middle school, like, kicking a field goal was going for two.
Okay.
Because it was the harder thing to do at the time. And going for two only counted for one. So it was flip-flopped. So we always kicked field goals because I could drain them. And so we'd have our progression, and it was kind of like, you know, NFL style in a way, or at least like whenever like an NFL kicker like goes out there solo and it's just setting up the tee and like kicking field goals. But we do like a whole like snap and kick progression. And like 8th grade, what am I, 13? I was hitting 40s. I was hitting 40-yard field goals with like a smaller football too, which like in like retrospect, I think is like a little bit harder, like less kicking surface area, whatever, smaller sweet spot.
Yeah.
And so I think today, because some of the kids that I coach still play at Second Baptist, and I guess there's a records book or some type of thing that's like posted as far as like middle school records go, and I've got like most points still for 8th grade football at Second Baptist. Purely because I booted balls for two, which I weirdly like heard that honestly like 3 months ago, and like kind of felt sick. I was like, wait, like you know, like when you coach these little kids, you're like, hey, like I was, you know, I played, I kind of did something.
They don't believe you. They're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
right?
And it's like I'm like, wait, my name's like actually up at the school for that, and they're like, yeah. I'm like, see, I can brag. I can tell you all it was actually kind of good. And then actually got to the point where I think I was nominated or like. I almost made like the U.S. Army All-American Bowl like middle school game.
Really?
As a kicker, which was like a wild thing too to hear. Yeah, I don't know. But then that was a 1 year, one and done. Played like a little bit of spring football going into high school, and I was still at Second Baptist, and then I quickly like shut that down. It was fully baseball. And then yeah, man, like just falls, springs, summers were all baseball. But I will say, like I am in the most like non-egotistical way, like I've got some tricks up my sleeves, and like I'm kind of nasty with the soccer ball, like hacky sack. Like I just would say like I am athletic. I just never competitively like dip my feet into like any other sport except for baseball.
Like unorganized backyard sports, like.
Yeah. We did neighborhood flag football.
Yeah.
No, not flag football. Sorry, we tackled the hell out of each other.
Good.
Especially like on rainy days. Like rainy days were like, especially like thunder, lightning. Lightning, maybe we shut it down. For rainy day football, it was like get the boys together, get the neighbors. We had like a neighbor with 3 boys, and then we had another neighbor with 2 boys, and it'd be my brother and I, and it was auto like mud football. Like we're playing no matter what, full body tackle. There were tiers, but it was just kind of like an understood thing that like we're doing this,
right.
Which was like the glory days of like going outside and kind of like the every now and then like on TikTok or like Instagram, like you'll see like a funny caption where it's just like touch grass.
Yeah.
And it's just like go back out, like the roots of just like putting social media away and like going outside and just like being one with like earth and just like, and it was just such a good time. And we come home soaked and dirt all over and dirt in our eyes. And like, moms are just like, oh my God, like, this is but that was like the highlight, I think, of just growing up and like being immersed and, going outside and doing stuff. Like we'd even like had a skateboard era and like we got like someone bought like a grind rail from like Academy.
Right.
And like we're over here like trying to grind this rail and like pop ollies and like none of us had any business on a skateboard. And like now I'm just like rambling and like going back through these phases of just like when Jackass, the movie and the show, was just like on top of the world.
Yeah.
Like we were making home videos of like doing our own Jackass stunts. At least like we thought we were like totally like badass, and like included like the skateboard video and like completely like tackled people like blindfolded. This like stuff that like we would think Jackass would do.
Yeah.
Like we were doing. So that might be a stretch as far as like athleticism, but yeah, no, we definitely got down as far as like backyard sports.
Well, I mean, it's cool because A, like I don't think you really see a whole lot of that nowadays, right?
Yeah.
And B, it's like, as a baseball player, you're not going to embarrass yourself playing other sports because it's like you're athletic enough to like be decent because there's so many fine motor skills in baseball. They translate well to other sports, right?
They do. No, 100%. And I know this is like, you see these videos pop up all the time where it's like, what's the hardest thing to do in sports or
the debates go on.
And I get it. Like there's really, there's not like a right answer because you do have, other guys in other sports that do have backgrounds in like baseball potentially or football or whatnot. And like, they're also freak athletes. Like the other day I saw like Carl Anthony Towns, like swinging a baseball bat in a cage.
He looked good. 7 foot.
Had no idea. And like, apparently like he was like, I think he's got a Dominican background, which kind of makes sense.
Right.
But then there's also, was it Pat Connaughton, who played baseball at Notre Dame and then played some minor league ball, but he was also a basketball player. Hung up the spikes, came back, had like eligibility to play college basketball still, which the ins and outs of like eligibility are absurd nowadays. I don't know what it is.
Right.
But then ends up getting drafted in the NBA, and now he's like a 10-year career in the NBA. He's got a ring and everything. So, it's what's right or wrong as far as who the better athletes are. I don't know, but I do agree with you, and probably with a bias, like baseball players just all around have, I guess, the more functionality as far as picking up any other ball or sport.
Sure. And
just kind of like doing it at a more than like average level.
I agree because
just
like,
on a whiff though, right? Like not at a professional level, but just as like an average Joe, like excelling at that limit.
Right. Cause I remember playing like 4 to 5 sports growing up a year. Right. Mm-hmm. And like, swim team, football, basketball, baseball, track and field. Each one of my coaches were like trying to get me to go play high school and college in that sport. Yeah. I was like, nah, dude, like baseball is my main sport. Like, I'm just playing these for fun. This is just a hobby, right? Yeah. But I mean, in a sense, man, like I think that hitting a baseball, golf, hockey, I think those are 3 of the tougher sports out there as far as like.
Don't get me started on hockey. Hockey's low key my favorite sport ever since I've finished baseball.
Yeah.
I'm kind of an oddball. Like I don't like watching baseball. I honestly like don't watch sports.
I don't either.
It's I don't know if it's because I've done it so long and I've just found out, I've got so many other hobbies that it's kind of taken me away from watching sports. Now I'll go to a Stros game. I love that. Like I'll watch it in person. But I'm not the one to like take time out of my day to go watch college football. If I find myself in that place, like I'll do it with friends, but I don't go out of my way to be like, hey, I'm sitting on the couch all day watching college football.
Watch. Yeah.
Now playoff sports, like it's a little bit different. Like maybe I'm more interested there, but dude, ever since I've gotten out of college, hockey has been like a newfound love. And people have asked me like if you could go back and like, you know, play another sport or like do something differently. I've always said like I would try and throw some skates on. And I think there's just like something, I think I'm a big culture guy. So like the hockey culture to me is like extremely interesting because I think just like the breed of player on like an overall level compared to like a football, a basketball, a baseball, it's just like a way more blue collar character.
Yeah, it is.
And maybe it's like a money aspect where like they don't get paid as much. But even before that, like you hear about these guys that grow up, and obviously like a lot of guys are Canadian and the, like Midwest and like the northern states. But I think it's like the way hockey is taught from, you know, I think that it's midget or whatever they're in, to professional hockey, and it's team. Yeah. It's literally team. And I think that's really, really cool because yeah, baseball's a team sport, but like, I don't remember like it being like punched into your brain.
No, because it's, in a way, it's so individualized because it's like you versus the pitcher.
Yes.
Right? Versus like, I think rugby and hockey have very similar cultures in a sense where it's like they're looking out for one another. They have each other's backs.
Yeah.
They're partying with each other off the ice.
Right. You're always looking for your teammate. Yeah. And I think, and then someone I guess would argue football, but like to me, it's just, it's these guys that like, and then you can bring fighting into it, which like, I know people like I guess like the American eye or the people that aren't like hockey fans are like, oh, hockey, like you can fight in hockey. Like that's immediately like, their thing. But like, from what I've learned, it's, you know, there is a talent that comes with it, and it's kind of like a dying talent right now because the game, and I think with overall sports and training and whatnot, like the athlete today is way better than the athlete 10 years ago, just because of like sports specific training and just like all these things that an athlete has access to be, you know, a freak athlete. So it's taken away from the fighting level and to more like a speed and skill show. But I think hockey, there's always a place for it because of a team aspect.
Correct.
You know, the guy that backs up their teammate when something goes wrong, or there's a big momentum shift thing where it's like, hey, this guy's sticking up for the captain or something that happened, or a big hit that wasn't supposed to happen. There's an energy shift there when the guy puts his body on the line, and it's like, hey, I've got my back for y'all. But no, I love hockey just because of like the team aspect, and like if you go listen to like all their interviews, and honestly, like, yeah, they're boring. Because they're so well like PR trained, and like the kind of hockey players are like PR trained from like the start, because it's all about team, and they always pivot it back to their teammates and doing things together and losing together and winning together. Nobody ever takes credit by themselves, and like I think that's a super cool and super interesting thing. And just I think from a skills standpoint, they're world-class hockey players, as in like hockey skills, so stick handling, goal scoring, defense, etc. And then they're also doing it, they're world-class skaters, right? So like you talk about football, basketball, baseball, any other sport, we use our 2 feet just like we do on the street, right? Granted, you can move faster. People are, you know, more agile and fast. And but as far as hockey goes, like they are the best skaters in the world. So you've got 2 world-class skills in one game, which I think is unbelievable.
Right. And I mean, I guess you could also argue that like baseball, hockey, golf, all 3 of those sports, if you start them after the age of like 7 or 8, you're not going to make it to the professional realm.
Yeah. It's very rare.
Very difficult.
Yeah, no, there's you're right. Cause like I listen to all these stories and like, yeah, they're all playing when, they're on skates.
2 years old, 3 years old.
Same with like pro skiers and snowboarders, right?
Yeah.
Like you hear these stories and it's like all these guys grow up, like their backyard are the mountains.
Right.
And they get on skis or a snowboard before like fear is even a thought.
100%.
Right. And like you fall on like their rubber and like they're not breaking anything. And so by the time they're, 13, 14, they're throwing the craziest tricks because fear has just never even been a thought for them.
Yeah.
Right. Which, you get on a board now, especially like I started when I was like 27 or 28.
Yeah.
A few years ago, and thankfully like I was able to pick it up like decently quick. But injury is like is like the first thought almost.
Yeah, you don't want to be out for 4 to 6 months.
And like when you think about injury, like that's when injuries arguably like happen.
100%.
But yeah, dude, like when you're on a board at 4 years old and you get the gist of it, and like then you start throwing tricks and stuff like at 6 years old, you're just doing it. Like it's just like I'm throwing a trick and I'm not thinking about anything else but landing this. Whenever I'm trying to hit like a little bunny hop, I'm like, don't catch an edge, right? That's my first thought. Yeah. And then you get like that much air and you're like, yes, sick. Yeah.
Well, dude, back to your career. So you played high school ball at Lamar High School, correct?
Yeah.
So going from Second Baptist to Lamar. Yeah. Now, were you a shortstop right away? Or did you play multiple positions?
Yes and no. Short was my spot, and then I also caught.
Okay.
So I went to Second Baptist half my freshman year. Mm-hmm. And then I made that transfer over to Lamar. And so I was still catching at that point. And that was quickly, I think first week, like I hung up the gear right after that because I'd never done any catching drills.
Yeah.
And I was fine at blocking and like framing. Like I was doing it, but I wasn't, I guess, like molded as a catcher. It was just pure athleticism.
Yeah.
And I started doing like catching specific drills with the catchers. And I was like, no, I can't move this way.
It's ain't that fun.
I'm not like as mobile as I thought. Like, and maybe it was just like, I'm gonna stick to short. Like I probably could have done it. Mm-hmm. And there was probably just like more use in the infield. And so freshman year, by super thankful that I ended up making varsity as a freshman with a group of juniors and seniors. Mm-hmm. But I started over at third base first, and then like by like week 3 or 4, like they made a switch, and I went to short, and he went to third, and that's where it stuck. And I played short essentially like through college, with like maybe some innings at second, maybe some innings at third as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, short, what I would say is like was home for me.
And for those viewers out there who don't know about Lamar High School, I mean that's a powerhouse like 6A program.
Yeah, man, we've had some names go through.
Anthony Rendon comes to mind as one of them.
Rendon was a big name for those Houston people that love baseball. Like, no career like his at Rice. I know he's recently been more of a, controversial topic in baseball, but like he earned it at a certain point, right? Like guy's injury plagued, but dude, he's crazy talented. Will Rhymes was another guy. He played a few years in the bigs. Smaller dude too, mm-hmm. Who I think has a really cool story. Jeff Neiman, who was on that World Series team at Rice. Who else was there? Most recently, around our age, Ian Jabot, who's also got a great story. Ian was 2 years older, so a year older than you. Mm-hmm. Didn't make varsity till his senior year at Lamar. Went to Tulane, was a closer at Tulane for 3 years under Pierce. And Jabot, just like, I remember leaving school. I think it was like just summer going into my sophomore year. Yeah, it was after my freshman year, and it was summer going into sophomore year. And group text is like, yo, like Jabot hit 91. And then like a camp like 2 weeks later, it was like Jabot hit 92. And then like it just progressed. And then like next thing we know, like we're playing fall ball and like Jabot's 94. It's like this man's just like we're like literally watching this guy just like click and find it. Commits to Tulane, and he's at Tulane, and he's like 5-7, and ends up being I think like an 11th round guy his junior year, and gets his debut, and he's the only guy still playing big league ball right now. Really? At least from the 4 year or from my time at Lamar.
Yeah.
And this is a dude that like never made a Little League All-Star team. This is a dude that never made varsity till his senior year. And I always end up like using him as an example to our players, the guys that I coach. Even if we have open tryouts sometimes, and like we're talking to guys, like I kind of use it as a reminder that like do not let one tryout like be a discouragement to your career, because there are guys out there that essentially like could be worse than you, but it just clicks differently for everybody, and you just never know. So just like stick with it, and like he's like the prime example of the guy that just like was never the stud.
Yeah.
And then when everybody else is like kind of like dropping off or like, kind of plateauing, like this guy is still finding it, doesn't have the touch yet. Now he's making good money.
Dude, that's important. That's powerful for kids to hear. I feel like, especially because they might get intimidated when a kid's fully grown in middle school or like ninth grade, like 6'3", getting looked at by UT and A&M and is like committed.
100%.
And then it's like, hey, I'm a late bloomer. Like I was never highly recruited until in between my senior year.
Yeah.
Because then I finally I played multiple sports my whole life, started dedicating more time and focus into baseball, and like just shot off, right?
Oh.
Like, so you see late bloomer situations all the time.
Yeah, no, these kids nowadays playing ball are so funny. And like now that like the 15-year-olds that I'm coaching, it's fun too, because like they really do feel like little brothers, and they're a little bit more confident, and from when I started with them when they were 10, now 15, like their vocab's a little bit different.
Oh, sure.
And it's it's a lot more fun because I feel like we relate more now, and they also know, or I know them more, they know me more now. So like coaching styles kind of develop and kind of change, and like it allows you to, like, I can be a little bit more blunt now depending on the person and like knowing their personality, and they like that, or they respond to it better. But you'll hear these kids talk about like some prospects and all this, and like the guys that I'm talking about, like they're going into their freshman year, and it's like, yeah, right now, like this kid might be nasty, but like that means nothing, like 4 years from now, like we'll see where he signs his letter of intent. Like,
right.
You see dudes committing to, like you said, like UTs and A&Ms right now, and like some of them are freaks and like are going to be fine, sure, and like they'll get drafted. But, you get kids that are like, more developed right now, and they're being used as the guy right now. And, I've broken this down to some kids too. And I'm like, think about it. Like, he's the guy right now. He's throwing 90 right now. Everywhere he goes, a coach just wants to use him, right? Mm-hmm. So how many innings is this guy going to have from now until he steps on a college campus? Right? Like, that's where you see a lot of injuries, or a lot of guys' velos like aren't sustainable because they've thrown 4 million innings before they actually step on a college campus, and like now they're having arm issues, or they're just out of juice. A guy like Jabot, who like wasn't ever used, right? And like didn't have a lot of innings, and like there was a lot of like arm strength and power there, and like it was still developing. And he's the guy that's still playing now, right? Versus the guys that were all-stars every year and like were a little bit more developed, right? Like it's just crazy how this game works, and it's with all sports too, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's even dudes that like somehow like barely crack the minors or barely get right, and then it's they somehow find it, or like something clicks.
Sure.
And it's like, dude, now this guy's like a professional NHLer, or he's a professional MLB player, or he's throwing 99. One summer he jumped 5 miles an hour. It's crazy how like each person is so on their own path, and like it's so easy to say and explain, but like there are like all these different cases where it's like, man, like you just never know when it could be you or this kid that kind of just find that thing that clicks. Yeah,
I think the worst thing to do is like compare yourself to other guys, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the worst thing you can do, and surround yourself with people who are going to help develop you from a younger age.
Yeah.
Like yourself, like you're coaching younger kids, you're mentoring them, and you're teaching them like what you wish you would have known going into like high school and into college, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like I think another thing is like, you ask kids who their favorite players are, and and like I even look back at myself, and it's like, oh, like who was your favorite player? And like I always think about like Jeter, being a guy that I always liked. but like Jeter wasn't my comp. Like that's, you know, I couldn't be like Jeter. I wasn't 6'2", you know, I didn't swing like him. And like nowadays, like I ask kids like who their favorite players are. And it's like, when I get like a 5'8" shortstop like myself and like they're telling me like Carlos Correa is their favorite player, it's like, I also like Correa.
Right.
But like, as far as comping your game and like, you know, understanding, like the quicker you can understand what kind of player you are, the better you can prepare yourself and model your game after someone. So like, you know, if I think about like a shortstop back in the day that like maybe would comp better to me, like I think about like a David Eckstein.
Bro, I was just about to say Eckstein.
Like growing up, and like I think naturally, like I think about the guy because the Stros and Cardinals in those early 2000s, like when baseball was like this like game that I loved and like loved watching the Astros, and you know it was that middle like those 03, 04, 05 years when the Stros were like knocking on the door, and it was always like the Pujols, Eckstein, Edmonds,
Rowland,
Scott Rowland, Edgar Renteria, like all these dudes. And it's like Eckstein was always that guy that was like this scrappy, you know, smaller dude, but was just a pest. And he was always tough out everywhere. Like Pedroia is another guy, right? Like those are players that like I should have looked at more and been like, that's me. And like, I didn't have anybody to like give me that. And like, not that like that was like the make or break of my career. But like looking back, it's like, well, if I am going to watch someone that does this at a high level, like why not watch someone that's somewhat frame wise, ballpark wise, like what I bring to the table. So not to like crush any kid's dreams, but it's like, you know, okay, like you're a smaller size guy. Like let's not look at the dude that's 6'4" that has crazy pop and throws 100 across the infield. Let's look at the guy that, you know, is a single guy, split the gaps guy, good on the bases, makes routine plays, every single routine ground ball. Yeah. You know, that's the guy that you want to model your game after. And so it's, you know, it was whenever I started coaching and like asking kids that, and like I look back and I'm like, damn, like Jeter's sick, but like I'm not Jeter. Like I was never Jeter, you know, like it's stuff like that where I'm like even going, like I went to spring training like for the first time 2 years ago. And it's like these little things of like seeing all these dudes and like seeing how they go about their business and stuff. You know, I always think about like, oh, like what could I have done differently? And like, it's the classic, like I could have gone to the cage for like 1 more hour every day. Yeah. But like I look back and it's like player comp and like kind of seeing like who I could image myself after. And then going to spring tee and like seeing these dudes like go about their business, right? Cause you always just see them on TV and in game in person, like actually playing in the bigs, but it's cool to see them behind the scenes and see like, you know, them going to the weight room and them going over here to the field and doing these practice drills and stuff, like the in touch, like human stuff that you see that you're like, oh wow, like these guys actually do this too. And like, I'm doing this at practice, right? Like that kind of puts you more in like common touch with them. And again, not saying if I went to spring training as a 12-year-old, like I would be in the big leagues, but I would have like in perspective, like gone to the big leagues or gone to like a big league spring tee camp and like seen these, you know, top tier athletes just doing these little drills that are so simple. And it's like, wow, like I need to do these more.
Well, is it more so like that they're mastering the fundamentals rather than like using all these gadgets and all these things that like people sell, right? Like to these kids.
Yeah, 100%. And like, I think like there's like the wow factor of like watching a big leaguer, right? Like obviously like hitting a bomb or like making a sick play or like a pitcher having like the nasty wipeout slider that makes a hitter look silly. But I tell these guys like in baseball being a failing sport, right? We hear it all the time. You know, the Hall of Famers are all failures, technically, statistically. But it's the dudes that learn how to fail less and not fail as consistently. And so like when I get like my infielders now that I teach, like the emphasis is like, so like, yes, fundamentally sound. And the reason like we need to be fundamentally sound is because we need to make routine plays. I don't care about the diving play. I don't care about any of that. It's great when it happens, whatever. But if you miss a diving play, no one cares.
No,
right?
It's a hit.
But when you miss a routine play, people care.
Correct.
And if y'all want to play this game for a long time, whether that's college, whether that's being on varsity in high school, whether that's getting drafted, like the guys that play infield in the big leagues make routine plays all the time, right? It should be almost 100% of the time. And like making sure they know that, and like, or at least trying to like, you know, everyone's stubborn. We were stubborn growing up. These kids are stubborn too. And like that kind of like, you know, now on the other side as a coach, you're like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe, like, you kind of like think about the coaches that coached you, and you're like, no wonder like they hated us some days, right?
Yeah,
because
cuss us out some days. Like.
Yeah, it's like, but like truly, like, you know, in the infield or in the outfield, like if you just make your plays, routine plays, like coach is going to put the person that they can rely on most. And there doesn't really, like the wow factor is just making the routine play.
I'm glad you talked about like playing your game, because that's something that Jordan and I always preach to the younger kids. It's like you said, modeling your game after somebody who's a similar stature, similar like skill set, right? Because like a lot of these kids like that are our size or even smaller, they'll swing for the fences, and it's like, yeah, you might be able to hit for power in high school, but that's not going to translate necessarily to the collegiate or the professional realm, right? Like, so you need to develop speed. You need to develop your fielding. You need to make sure you're a clean fielder. You steal bases. You hit for a high average, high on base percentage, low strikeout guy.
Yeah.
Because it bothers us whenever these kids come to us and they're like second basemen, small kids, and they're striking out a lot. It's like, well, how are you swinging? I'm trying to hit bombs. I'm like, that's not your game.
Yeah.
If you're going to run into a few, right?
Yeah.
But like your game needs to be, you need to bat like 600, and you need to steal about 30, 40 bats.
Yeah. No, it's. Yeah, and like that's like, again, what would you do differently going back? Like, well, I would understand what kind of player I am, and I would try and get really good at that.
Correct.
A really cool thing when we were at Spring T this last year, we went to the Reds facility, and I believe his name's David Hansen, big leaguer for like 15 plus years, I think. He's a minor league hitting coordinator for the Reds, and he spent like an hour and a half with us, which was like the coolest thing in the world.
That's awesome.
And it's one of those things too. Like we got a lot of access to a lot of Spring T stuff, and I think it's going to be one of those things. Like all the coaches were like, "Oh my god, this is insane." I think it's going to be one of those things that when the kids are either out of baseball or adults, that it's going to hit, or like maybe they're in pro ball and they're going to be like, damn, like we got to go to like spring training. We got to hit in the cages at the facility. And like the coach was like, they don't realize like how crazy that like us being there and like Dave Hansen spending time with us and breaking down hitting from a professional standpoint was. And like one thing that he said is, he was like, in the cages, dude, he was like, we live L screen and down. And we stay off top net, and we stay off like even like the top back of the net. L screen and down is what he said. And I was like, he goes, those balls in games translate.
Correct.
Right. Cause like naturally in a game, like our swing's probably going to open up a little bit just because adrenaline, we feel a little bit stronger, you know, we're gripping the bat a little bit stronger. Like that, those balls will naturally elevate a little bit and split gaps.
Correct.
But, you know, again, me as a, 5'8" middle infielder, like, why would I be on the top of the cage, right? Like, freaking taking out shins and taking out the L screen in the middle of the, like, that would be my game 100%. And like, that's now something that like I'm telling a lot of these kids too. It's like, yeah, cage bombs feel great, but like what feels even better is like whenever you're barreling balls and getting on base in games, right? Like that's what matters. And then that translates to like, I think a saying that like I really enjoyed hearing as a coach is like fall in love with the boring. Because practice is just monotonous. It's like you're going to do a lot of the same stuff a lot. And like staying middle of the cage and L screen down, it like isn't fun at all. It's pretty boring, right? It doesn't feel good. And like you naturally like, oh yeah, I'm feeling good now. I want to open it up and let it fly a little bit more. But it's like, no, stay consistent and get really good at this, because in a game, like you're going to be a lot better. And so it's, and some of the kids, and like in real time correction, like the kids do it, but like it doesn't stick with them the whole time. So like you have to repeat it a lot. But it's just like, since I've started coaching and like I've soaked up some information, and like I'm here, like I wish I heard it from a guy, in the big leagues at some point, that told me something. And so the amount of information that like I've gathered as a coach nowadays, like, I wish I could go back and apply it as a player.
Well, dude, you hear Bonds talk about like greatest hitter of all time, right? He's like, dude, I was taught by my father, Bobby Bonds, who played in the big leagues for a long time. Be perfect off the tee, be perfect in front toss, be perfect in batting practice. Because if you're not perfect in those things, how are you going to go out and hit 300 in a game, right?
Yeah.
Like, so you have to perfect the simple things. And I think Freddie Freeman had mentioned he was so surprised at how simple Ohtani's like pre-game hitting routine is.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, he just does like tee flips and like hits a little bit off of like a live arm. Like it's so like, kids overcomplicate it, I feel like, man.
It does. And like, I'm laughing right now in my head because Gabe would absolutely tear me apart right now. But like in high school, like it makes me cringe. I thought I was too good for drills. I was like, I'm not doing like these side tosses and like these side flips. Like just give me a T and like give me BP. Like that's it. Actually before games in high school, I wouldn't hit BP. I would just take dry takes.
Really?
I would hit off a tee a little bit. But like, and I think I was doing well. So like, I just like kept with the routine, but I would get in there and I think I would just like see pitches. I would just see pitches, and just try and get my timing down. I didn't swing. And if I did swing, like it wasn't that much. I didn't like to overswing before a game, but no, yeah, it's, again, I would probably do more drills back in the day if I could do stuff, but it's cool hearing like, you know, obviously the big leaguers like they find what works for them.
Correct. Correct.
Which, you know, they stick with the routine, whether it's like a superstitious thing or it's just something that truly just like it tunes their skills. I said this the other day too, and I think it's interesting because like you mentioned Bonds and like his dad, who is a big leaguer, and like, you know, there are a bunch of big leaguers who come from dads that played in the big leagues, right? Or just in a generalization of sports, a lot of professional athletes come from professional athlete parents. And like I think about that, and like I remember like, you know, when we were growing up, like we also knew some friends whose parents played in the bigs or a professional athlete, and like there's some kids like that are going through the draft or get drafted, and you're like why'd that guy, like I'm way back, right? And it's like, what are they seeing that? And it's like, okay, you break it down, it's like maybe they haven't hit their growth spurt yet.
Sure.
But they've been raised in a house by a big leaguer. They know routines. They know what it means to be a big leaguer. They know, you know, what it takes to be a big leaguer, right? Like naturally, like they don't even, like it's just their natural upbringing.
Correct.
Has been by a big leaguer. But also like work ethic wise, right? Like these dudes that played in the big leagues for however long, like they've worked in a certain manner that has gotten them to that point.
Yeah.
And so naturally, like that's how they teach their kids. Like they're taking their kids to the batting cage all the time. They're working on ground balls all the time, right? Like it's just a part of their day.
Yeah.
And it's never like, to me, like I don't think it's probably ever like a thing that like, if like you had played in the big leagues and I was your kid, like I don't think these guys are like being sat down or these kids are being sat down and it's like, hey, you need to hit every day. I think they just naturally do it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just how I grew up. And like, that's just what the standard is. Right. And so a lot of these kids that we coach that don't come from that, I think the most common thing that we've had to like remind these kids is you need to hit a lot, and you need to hit a lot on your own, because our 2-hour practice,
right,
and your 20 swings at practice maybe aren't going to help you hit in games. It's not going to help you get to the next level. And like the best hitters that I know that are either still playing or played very well at a high level in college were the dudes that took 300 swings after practice on their own time. And so like that's been the most common theme with the kids nowadays, have been like, you know, and the kids that do hit really well are the ones that do hit more than the other kids. But I always thought it was interesting from like a big leaguer passed down to the kid, and the kid that's like, you know, now you see them coming up through the big leagues. It's like, well, that guy like lived a life, a part of his dad who probably did it every single day. And they're, you know, whether the kid was 3 years old, dad probably brought him to the cage all the time, right?
Yeah. When
that kid was 10 years old, still probably brought him to the cage every time. And it's just like a natural standard that they learn. And it's just like interesting to see that in perspective versus like kids that, you know, grew up in this area with just like parents that played Little League and maybe high school versus like the parents that have made a career out of this and how those kids work. And like now I'm like, well, no wonder those guys are also drafted, even if they're not at their peak level yet. They know what kind of person, they know the work ethic, they know the life, and that's something that's hard to teach.
They don't know any other way.
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, like hitting 6 days a week, that's like normal. All kids are doing that, right? And then when they find out like a lot of kids aren't, they're like, oh yeah, you're not going to make it.
No. It's, I'm not saying names, but like there's players that are like coming out of high school. I'm like, no way. Like what?
Yeah.
And then like 4 or 5 years go by and you're like, damn, like, yeah, no, okay, I get it now.
And there is like genetics are involved in baseball, right?
Yeah.
And it's like I tell parents that too. I'm like, listen, if you weren't very athletic growing up and your wife wasn't very athletic growing up, don't expect your kid to be like Mike Trout.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, to be honest, like that goes into it too. Like from the scouting level, like you do look at who they're raised by, and like, you know, if their dad's 6'4" and their mom's, you know, 5'11", 5'10", you're like, this kid might be, you know, a stud.
Well, when you're investing millions of dollars into them, you have to do those background checks. You have to do your due diligence.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
yeah. No, there's 100%. And so it's, that was just something super recent. Like the Bonds thing just kind of like sparked that. And like, I literally said this at practice the other day where I was just like, why do you think these kids who are kids of professional athletes or big league ball players, like get more chances than other guys? It's because they do all this stuff, and they don't have to be told to do this stuff. They just do it because that's the standard. That's what it takes to get there.
100%.
Yeah.
Now, with your recruiting process, specifically with West Virginia, did they see you playing with the Houston Heat, or how did they get in contact with you?
No. So my first, can we cuss on this podcast?
Yeah. Yeah. Why did
Not that I need to cuss right now, but there, like, when it comes to like the recruiting thing, I've had some phone calls that were unbelievable.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I was playing with Team Texas, and I forgot who we played, but I think it was like at a time where like they could contact you and they could call. And I was in McAlester, Oklahoma, and like I got a call from West Virginia, specifically from Derek Matlock, who's now the head coach at UTRGV. And he gave me a call and he was just like, have you ever heard of West Virginia? And I was like, yeah, I've heard of West Virginia. Like,
Country roads take me home.
Yeah. And more specifically, like college football, NCAA football. I know West Virginia's just like historically had like great football teams, right, and like big names too. And I think specifically like the Steve Slayton era and like the Pat White era. And like, I think just West Virginia's logo is a staple college logo.
Yeah, it is.
You kind of see it everywhere. Like you'll get like random like hat companies or shirt companies that like make college shirts, and like West Virginia is like always one of those in the mix with like UT and USC and all these. Like West Virginia's just always been a logo that just like comes with that like flood of college sports. And so he was my first, I don't know. Actually, no, sorry. West Virginia, that was going into my junior year. My first college like offer was going into my sophomore year of high school.
Okay.
Which was before the Heat, actually, because I joined the Heat when I was going into my junior year, and I was playing on the Angels when I went into my sophomore year.
Got you.
Coach Pierce, David Pierce, was the head coach at Sam at the time before he went to Tulane. Had my first formal offer from them. Didn't commit there because you just kind of like know the game. It's not like a football thing where like you commit early, create leverage and all that. Like it was the first one that was there. And then the following summer, that's when West Virginia came by. And then I think I did commit going into my senior year. But I'm trying to think of like who else I had. I think I had like a preferred walk-on spot at Tulane. I think DBU, I almost went on a visit there, but I didn't. U of H wanted me to go on a visit. I didn't. I wanted to like get out of Houston.
Yeah.
And I just like didn't want to be locked there. And so skipped out on that one. I went on a visit to Kansas State. Almost went there. Went on a visit to Sam Houston State because I liked Pierce a lot. Still love Pierce to this day. And then, what was the other one? That might have been like really it. I had some stuff like in the mix, but but it was, Kansas State, West Virginia, Sam Houston State. And then I ended up picking West Virginia because I have family in the Northern Virginia area.
Okay.
And honestly, like I had some like family stuff here in Houston, and like I was just like really in this place of like wanting to get out of the city.
Right.
And not feeling like tied down or like being close to like family issues and feeling like that would give me a better headspace if I like just got away from it. And it gave my family in Northern Virginia like a chance to like have a better chance to come see me play.
Yeah.
Even though it was still like a 5-hour drive, like a hell of a lot closer than like going to play in like, you know, essentially like Waco where I ended up going. But like they could drive down, or if like we played in Maryland on like a midweek or something like that, like they could easily come drive out.
Yeah.
And then, did West Virginia my freshman year, and I honestly loved it. Like I actually did love West Virginia. I love my team. I love playing there. Definitely like an adjustment, just like weather wise, and obviously like scenery in different part of the country, different people. Going from high school to college ball, obviously, like that being an adjustment on its own, and like not really like you hear the stories of like how serious it is and like what you're gonna get into, but like till you live it, you don't really know. Like morning workouts, like I went to summer school to like get acclimated, and I kind of had like a weird journey like for summer school. So like I told my labor my senior year at Lamar swinging on my non-throwing arm, and I went to summer school, didn't get surgery yet. I didn't want to get surgery on like my own call without West Virginia looking at it. Yeah. Because I felt like that would have been kind of like I didn't want them to like be like, well, this kid just went and got surgery. I wanted their doctors to look at it, which they did. And then I ended up getting my surgery, but I went there for summer school, and first workout, you know, you hear about, actually rewind a little bit, commit to West Virginia. One of my good buddies, Cole Langford, who was a senior at Lamar when I was a freshman, stud at A&M, 12th man at A&M, super decorated career. I commit to West Virginia, and he lets me know that the strength coach for baseball at West Virginia was just a grad assistant at A&M with him, and told me he was nuts. And I'm like, that's the worst news as a rookie freshman going into college. It's not even like I couldn't have avoided the weight room more in my life in high school.
You didn't lift at Lamar, right?
No, and like arguably nobody did at Lamar. Right. Here's the thing about these suburb kids in Houston. If you went to school in the city, you weren't jacked. If you went to school outside the city, you were jacked. Nobody went to the weight room, and it wasn't a thing, and the culture wasn't a thing, and the culture really didn't pick up until like I was in college, and it was more about skill and just like being in the cage and working on ground balls and stuff. Like we swam in the off season, but it was never about weights. And now the whole culture has shifted, and it's all about like, I mean, the high schoolers nowadays are like I joke, but like I genuinely don't think like I could have played college baseball or like D1 baseball out of high school if I was like the person I was in high school.
Yeah, you would have had to adapt.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like, you know, like given naturally, like if I was in high school now, like being a part of the culture, I would be in the weight room. But like if I was the kid I was in high school nowadays, like I wouldn't be going to a D1, I don't think. No, but first workout, and there's like 4 of us. It's not even like a full team. It's summer workout. There's 3 other kids from Dallas, and like I throw up everywhere, and I'm like of course. And it was the only time I ever threw up in college. Like never threw up ever again at another workout. I remember just like pounding Pedialyte later that day and being like, I'm gonna be hydrated. Like I've got to fix this. But even like when I was like yucking in that trash can, like normally like regular Tuck would be like, I gotta check out, like I just threw up, no way I can finish this workout. I was throwing up and I was like, I still got 30 minutes left of this. And that just being like a culture shock and being like, dang, this is real.
What do you make y'all do?
Nothing. Like it was literally like kettlebell. So I think it was maybe like a little higher heart rate stuff, but like we were doing like kettlebell swings. Like we never did kettlebell swings ever again. Yeah. Like I think he was literally like, I'm going to make, and like the other kids didn't throw up, but like,
I'm going to break these kids.
Kettlebell swings and like, you know, just high, like not a hit workout, but like definitely like a higher, more intense like weight room workout. And like, yeah, it was just like, I was not in shape for this at all. And so I was like, damn, this is a wake up call for sure. And then like 5:30 a.m. workout start and like loud music and people are yelling. And it's like, what is this? And like, I remember like texting Cole and I'm like, dude, no way you like this coach.
Yeah.
Like this guy is insane. Shout out to Kale, by the way, who ended up being my strength coach at Baylor too.
Yeah.
I transferred out. He ended up leaving West Virginia. He took the Baylor job. I ended up committing to Baylor. So we met again, but we were like, we're boys. He just most recently got an NBA ring with the Thunder this year.
Wow.
He's a strength guy and PT guy with the Thunder. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, he's still killing it. So no. That guy molded me into like another animal in college. I eventually adjusted to Kale and learned, his expectations and his standards. And like, it was, one of the best things for me in college.
Because you guys were in the ACC at the time?
No, dude. West Virginia was Big 12. So
even then?
Yeah. So I think it was like the second or third year that they were Big 12.
Okay.
Our whole like we were essentially like a Texas team. I think we had like 17 guys from Texas.
Wow.
Like half the team was Texas. The whole staff was Texas.
Yeah.
Randy Mazie was a head coach. He was a former TCU guy when TCU was, Matt Perk era, College World Series. Steve Trout was the infield coach, hitting coach, who's the head coach at Texas State right now. He was a former TCU player. Derek Matlock, who I think was on the TCU coaching staff as well. Texas guy, UTRGV head coach now. And then Kale was our strength coach. And we had some grad assistants and whatnot, volunteers. But, that team was essentially Texas, Big 12 team. That was like one of the pools too, was like playing Texas and, playing TCU and all the OU. We had just got like a new stadium. I played at like the inaugural new stadium at West Virginia, which was a really, really cool opportunity. But like one of the big adjustments was like weather-wise. And it's like, first series played at Clemson, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
But we weren't like, you think Big 12, like Power 5, like, you get the amenities. Like I thought like we were going to get like some sick stuff. And then we hit the bus for 9.5 hours to Clemson. And I'm like, what am I doing here? Which is like, in retrospect, you're like, this is hilarious. Like what a story, what a memory. Go to Clemson, play them. We actually won 2 out of 3 our opening series against Clemson, which was sick. And like West Virginia was still like kind of like a lower tier Big 12 team at the time. Jersey sucked. Like you could just tell like, they were trying to push through and like get to this next level of like, baseball.
Yeah.
And get back to West Virginia at like 3 a.m. from our bus ride. And it's -4 degrees. And I'm like, no, like what? Coming from Houston, right?
That's
like
wild.
You're just like, that's insane. Like at a certain point, I think like weather like was the same. Like 25 has to be the same as 5. Not at all. Like the tiers of like cold are like crazy. And like I remember like I just had like a one of our like track suits on, and like my knuckles felt like knives were like through. And I was like, this is insane. So we practiced in the indoor football field for, essentially, I guess like October to like end of February, beginning of March, which is crazy, which like, what part of it was like the thing that was super depressing to me. Because you have these white walls and like you're getting, giant square nets and throwing a tarp over them to hit BP. It's like, man, like, am I in the Big 12 or like, am I like at some, like lower tier junior college sometimes? Like that was a thing that was like kind of tough for me. And like, can I do 3 more years of this, even if I was starting every day? I think just like the weather outside was a big thing. And like, as I've grown older, like it's still a factor to me. Is like the environment that I'm in and like, kind of like the spectacles of just like life. Like, even today, like I don't know if I want to be in Houston forever, because I've been exposed to like places like Orange County, California, which is like my favorite place in the world, Colorado, like these places that are just like pristine beauty. It's like, wow, like I love being here because of like my surroundings. So being in West Virginia when it was 0 degrees and can't play baseball outside on a field. We literally went to Clemson. It was the first time we were on a field, an actual field, since like October.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, like it was, you could see like it was on the up and up, but man, like staying there for 3 more years. And the hardest thing was leaving my teammates, because I did love, like, we had a group of like awesome, hilarious people, and like you kind of grow together. And in a lot of ways, like, you know, the suck and like the grind and the grit of it, like, you know, I think about summer baseball too, and like, you know, for the unlucky ones that have to go play in like the middle of nowhere, and like you got buddies in like the Cape, and you got buddies in California, like playing in all these like really, really cool spots, and then like you're specifically like in Danville, Illinois. Love my Danville family, but just like in comparison, you're like, oh, like 2 months here, this is crazy. And then, but then you're also with 35 other dudes that like feel the exact same way. And there's a beauty of that, of like everybody coming together, and like it becomes hilarious, and like you have a great time. But yeah, West Virginia was like one of those things where it's like, man, like I really need to get out for like my own well-being.
Right.
And it wasn't about baseball or anything. It was about like my own like personal, like mental health, and like just like getting back to like my roots in a way, of like trying to find like a place that like I would be more happy playing at.
Right. And that's what brought you to San Jacinto Junior College.
Yeah, where I didn't play.
Really?
Which is also a place I didn't play, which just shows you like the talent that actually goes to that place. Yeah, that. And honestly, like I enjoyed the hell out of my time at San Jack. I think if I had the expectation of going in to be like an everyday guy, not that like brought any competitiveness out of me. I think I just like approach a game with like a humbleness, and not like, I was competitive. I wasn't afraid of competition. But like I knew like situationally, like going in, like, okay, like we've got some guys from what I hear, and just like kind of controlling what I can control. And like, I knew I needed to get in the weight room like crazy.
Yeah.
And so I kind of took that as an opportunity, but thankfully I got there, you know, I felt more at home. I got to stay at home, which was one thing. You know, I had Gabe back in my life, which was great. Like Gabe and I are like as close as it can get. And just like, you know, had like those natural, like going from like a 4-year D1, like Power 5, as much as West Virginia like wasn't like a Power 5, like you go to JUCO and you're like, oh my gosh, like I did have it like really good at West Virginia, which is like part of like the JUCO like fun, but which was the great thing about San Jack was like it was so baseball heavy, that like you're not even in practice, like you're getting reps, way more reps than you get anywhere else. So much baseball that you literally like forgot about school. Like you were literally still going to school, which I ended up like kind of having like a little bit of trouble when I got to Baylor in the fall, and had to. I didn't make good grades at San Jack, which is crazy to say. Yeah. So I was academic, all Big 12, 3 out of my 4 years of college. So every year I was in the Big 12, I made an academic team. Yeah. San Jack, I like essentially like made under a 2.5 GPA. Wow. And it was because I think I took 18 hours, 2 semesters, because I lose hours when you go to JUCO. JUCO is just like a mess in general. And then half those classes were online, and like my learning style, like being online and not having a teacher to listen to, and like there's so many tabs and like hidden things that like I just didn't have. It was just hard for me. And so get to Baylor and they sit me down. They're like, hey, like, did you know like you were under like a 2.5? And I was like, no one said a word to me about school when I was at San Jack. I graduated, I got my degree, whatever, I'm here. Like no one mentioned anything about like a certain level. And so like we had to, I guess technically like argue it, or like try and like ask for appeal. A full appeal. And like part of it was like medicine and like my ADD, and like didn't get my prescription. And like Big 12, like at the other school, West Virginia, like I was provided tutoring and everything that helped me a lot. And so like it got overturned, which is great. But yeah, San Jack was like very much, hey, go play baseball. That's awesome. Which was great.
No choice but to get better.
Literally, like it was a place where like you had to almost like in an independent way, like, hey, like
it's on you.
Yeah, like you can make it's either like you can get better or like you can end your career here too, just as quick. And so I remember like just working out on my own at the Y and like just doing like your standard, like I need a bench press, I need a squat, like I just need to get like this foundation built. And then one thing that like I prided myself on for the most part in baseball was like my glove. And so I kind of became like, that's kind of like where I like held my own at San Jack. So I ended up essentially becoming like a defensive sub in a way, or like coming in for like the late innings. But hitting wise, like I did get better there. Like I had like some sneaky pop, even though I didn't hit any pumps or anything at San Jack. But I definitely, like looking back, like I thought I deserved more playing time there, but it didn't really bother me because like I locked Baylor up in the fall. And so played one good game at Baylor in a fall game, just like that, boom, they threw something on the table. Wow. And then just kind of like at this point too, I knew in the spring like I wasn't going to be getting playing time. I think I had 40 ABs and 60 games at San Jack. And so I knew kind of like what I think I had like a couple mid-majors. Like I think I had like Oral Roberts. I think I had like Louisiana Monroe. And then Baylor. And that was just after that one game. And after that one game, I had to call, it's crazy how transfer rules have changed over the years. Mm-hmm. I had to call Rainey Mazie at West Virginia and ask for permission to go to Baylor.
Because it was within a calendar year?
Not even. I think it was just conference to conference, like transferring. Really? Even if I had a year at JUCO split. Yeah. I still had to ask for permission to get signed off by Mazie to let me re-enter the Big 12 to play. And so if this is a lesson to anybody, like not burning bridges is insane, because I never had beef with Mazie. Like even I told West Virginia I was transferring second conference week in the season.
Oh, wow, that's ballsy.
Because Trout brought me in. It was in Waco, ironically.
Yeah.
And he could tell, like, and I'm a guy that like wears his emotions on his sleeves. Like I'm very bad at lying. I'm very bad at like covering things up. And he's like, hey man, like you're not your own. You're not yourself. Like the fall was really hard for me because I was also battling shoulder surgery and coming back. I couldn't swing the whole fall. Mm-hmm. You know, looking back, I wish I redshirted too. Like I literally jumped in the lineup game 2 of the season and had only been hitting for a month and a half when I didn't touch a bat for 6 before that. Yeah. And I told him, I was just straight up, I was like, man, like, it's really tough for me being West Virginia. Like, I think I just, like, am sad. Like, it's not really even about baseball. Like, the family stuff going at home is really bothering me. And, like, I'm not there when I thought it would be better if I got away from it, et cetera, et cetera. And he asked me if I was, like, going to transfer. And I was like, I'm definitely, like, thinking about it. Like, yeah. Which, like, in retrospect is, like, a crazy thing to tell a coach in the middle of the season. But I think it like, the honesty that I gave, and like I don't know if it's just like I'm a trustworthy person and like it doesn't feel like I'm screwing anybody over. Right. They brought me on every road trip the rest of the year. They didn't sit me at home. They didn't like not do anything with me. Yeah. I went to the Big 12 tournament still. I got to pinch run. Like I still showed that like, hey, like I want to help this team win. And this whole situation is like not about baseball at all. It's like my own mental health and my own well-being and family. And so fast forward, and like even my exit meeting with Mazie was great. And then when I called Mazie at San Jack that fall, and I asked him like, hey, like if this would be okay. I mean, he was like, Tuck, like I'll let you go anywhere you want. And like I've told people like that played at Texas and other bigger schools, and they're like that's crazy. Like that would have never flown. Like I remember Blake Goins is one person that comes to mind. Yeah. He was like, dude, if I had asked Augie if I could transfer to TCU, he would have shut that down immediately because, you know, you think about it too. You think about signs and all the, like the ins and outs that you think like that coach teaches in that program and bringing it with you to another school. And like, you know, that guy, you got an inside scout there. Not that like I even like remembered any signs when I went to Baylor from West Virginia, but Mazie was purely like, dude, you did nothing but try and help this team win, and like we saw that. It's like I want to help you do whatever you need to do wherever you want to go play. That's cool. And like let me go to Baylor.
Kids got it so easy now.
And then nowadays it's like you can do whatever you want. Yeah, no matter. You can transfer to the school an hour away that's an in-state rival in the same conference, and you can play immediately. Like if I had transferred and I didn't have stats to transfer like to a D, you know, I could have gone somewhere, but like not that anybody like would have offered me a scholarship.
Yeah.
I could have done it, but it would have been an auto sit out a year. And it didn't matter if it was in conference, out of conference, like you had to sit out a year no matter what. So that's why I was like, well, I'm gonna go to San Jack and play baseball and try and get something out of San Jack. And San Jack is just a decorated program, and there's a lot of eyes on San Jack. So that's why I did it. But yeah, no, Baylor worked out, and it was great because it was, you know, closer to home. I felt more at home because I knew not even athletes. I knew just people from Houston that were in Waco, and then people that went to Texas, friends that went to Texas, girlfriend went to Texas. Like it was just easy, and I felt more myself. And like as far as like networking went, like it just felt more at home for me. And I lived with non-athletes, which for me personally was like such a plus because it was that separation from you know, from 5:30 a.m. when that whistle blows to when practice ends at 7:30. Go to dinner at 8, you get home at 8:30. Like, I love my teammates, don't get me wrong, but like, I also don't want to talk about coach this and coach that or what's going on at baseball. Like, I get to go home to who are still some of my best friends today, like some baristas and musicians.
Yeah.
And it was just such a nice, like, separation, and like, didn't have to think about baseball, and like, I didn't have people grilling me about practice or like complaining about something. It was just like, loved hearing about their day and like the creativity of them, and just like, you know, they're just like good-hearted people. It was a good separation for me, and something that like I'm so happy. Like as soon as I come into Baylor, my childhood buddy Thomas is like, "Come live with us," and I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think about like living with a baseball player or anything like that. I was just like, "Yeah, for sure, let's do it."
Yeah, you need that separation, dude. Like, I mean, especially like on a long, like 9.5 hour bus trip.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, I'm kind of tired of my teammates. I just want to kind of like get away and just kind of do my own thing, like not have to worry about baseball. Because your roommates probably had no idea what your day consisted of, right?
No,
like,
well, they learned. Like, it was definitely like a learning point. Because like it would be myself, Chris, and Chase in a bedroom together.
Yeah.
And 4 days out of the week, I'm rolling out of bed at 4:45, 4:30. I was kind of like, also like the anxiety of like knowing like you have to be at weights at 5:15, whistle blows at 5:30. Like you got to wake up. Like I can't roll up at 5:30, be late, or like be like half asleep. Like I had to like wake up a little bit. And so like they definitely like for 2 falls, you know, they saw me leave or heard me leave, and like I come home and they're still asleep sometimes, right? Like they picked up the gist of like what it was like living that life, and sure. And they've definitely like they're great people, and they definitely like have given me like kudos for like living that life. But like they made my life like so much more fun and so much easier. Just letting me kind of just like mentally be at ease with just like their lives being around me. Like they didn't have to say anything, they didn't have to do anything, like just their presence of like being themselves. I was like, okay, I can relax.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you were to summarize your time in Baylor like in a nutshell, how would you do so?
Honestly, like it was the best decision I made. I'm happy it worked out that way too, because in those 2 years, a lot of like character change for me. You know, I wanted to go play pro ball. Yeah. And you know, I tell these stories to like the guys that I coach, and every now and then, because you know, I think you know, we talk about hockey and being team guys, and you know, nowadays I think like with the era of social media too, and you see like you see these kids posting videos of themselves and like their stat lines on Twitter and Instagram. Like it's a crazy thing to see, because like we didn't do that.
Right.
Like you didn't do that. Like you didn't need to do it. Like if you did, it came off as like a completely like cocky thing to do. And so I think naturally like a lot of kids are very like self-focused in the game today. Yeah. And that's why it's hard to teach like this sport as a team sport right now because of that. And so like my reflection at Baylor, like my junior year, you I got to play a lot. I was the guy at short for the most part. I think like probably 95% of that year I started at short, and had a good year. Like slash line was like 263 in the Big 12, which I'm happy about. I think I had like, fact check me, it could be like 12 or maybe like 16 doubles. One bomb, which was legendary, which is like how I can hang my hat in like Baylor history. And I don't know how I did in the field. I think I kind of like, I don't know, but I played well. But there were times where like I didn't start games, some series, and I remember being angry and like upset and mad and like very like about me. I think specifically like a TCU series where I didn't play one game. It was like I'd just been named to Brooks Wallace award list for, I think, and it was like middle of the season. And I think that list specifically is like, best shortstop in the nation list. And I'd just been put on that list before we went into TCU, and I didn't start one game at short at TCU. And I remember being like confused and just like what the hell? Like what? Yeah. This makes no sense. And I remember like next week, following week, like going into coach's office and like wanting to talk and just be like, hey, what is this? And Coach Rod gave me some excuse. I can't remember what it was. And like, I remember walking out even being more angry because I thought it was BS. I love you, Rod. And I think like there was like maybe like some resentment after that. And so fast forward to our exit meetings on the end of that year, completely blindsided. And Ruben, who was our volunteer at the time, and Ruben and I are like close now. He's an agent now with CAA. He's a stud. Like he is like one of my favorite people. Yeah. But he shot me straight, and like something I wasn't expecting Ruben to do. But he was like, "Hey, like you're a bad teammate." And at some times, like you're a bad teammate, and like specifically that series against TCU, and like it was never like I hope any bad on my teammates. But I was pissed that I wasn't in the game. Yeah. And I picked my teammates up and all that and like that, but like that's not it. Like that's not what it's all about, right? And so fast forward to the next year, and like it just happened, whatever, blah blah. Like made some adjustments over the summer. Had an incredible fall. Won my spot. Yeah. Fair and square, and hit like I forgot what I was 300 plus all fall, hitting the ball really well. And I remember like them making like an adjustment though on me, and like I came back after winter break and like it was off and like I didn't feel it. First, I think I had like 90 ABs my senior year, and like I was hitting like 220 or 230. Yeah. And lost my position to a true freshman, Nick Lofton, who's now a big leaguer, first rounder, Team USA guy. And I think, thank God, Nick Lofton is a great human being. Yeah. Because I would have hated losing this to like someone that just like I didn't like. Nick was an incredible teammate, a really good kid. And even when he took my position, he still looked up to me to soak up the information. Mm-hmm. And he didn't think he was too good. He didn't think it was my spot. I don't need any help. He looked at me as like to help him out still on like how to do things. Yeah. And so when I took that step back, I had two decisions, and it was play that same pity party that I played, like whenever I didn't play against TCU, or I can accept this and make sure that like potentially my last year of baseball ever is like the most fun year I could ever have. And that's the route I went. And I picked up a clipboard, asked how I could help this team out, whether it was picking signs, whether it was picking up pitcher tendencies on stuff he does, time to the plate, anything. And I put my butt right next to Coach Rod and tried to be as helpful as I could. And I had the most fun I've ever had playing baseball when I didn't even get to play baseball. And Rod and I remember my junior year, I couldn't stand Rod. Actually, now that this is like, Rod and I are like, we're him and his wife, like we're all close. I remember going to summer ball that year and I wrote FR on my hat. And I think we can get like Coach Rodriguez is his last name. I guess we can take a guess at what FR stood for. Yeah. and then came back and like had that like pivotal moment in my career and like my life as far as like what kind of person I could be. And I chose that route, and I'm so thankful that I did. And Rod, it meant a lot because he pulled me aside and he recognized me for it just in private. And that meant a lot too. Mm-hmm. And even other players recognized it as well. And I had like some moments too, like where I got to go back in the game, defensive subs, and, or games were blown out. I got to go in and like take advantage of it and whatnot. And, but it was so much fun. And like, Rod and I are so close nowadays. I can call that guy whenever I want. I can call his wife whenever I want. And we were able to like build a certain relationship that was unique to like other players. And that was literally because of that decision that I made. Mm. And I think that was a very bit, like I grew up in that moment. And like letting myself, and like, that's why I pride myself in culture so much and like being a team guy, because it's so important. And so like the person I was in that dugout, that person I was in the locker room, it 100% helped us play baseball. And like, not to take credit for like wins or anything, but like being a guy that like I could express my like personality and like be this glue guy and like, keep things light and like play pranks on people and like be funny, like on bus rides and stuff on the road. Like that stuff helped us play better. And we did really well our senior year, like won Big 12 tournament and, regional in Stanford. And that team has 4 big leaguers. And like looking back, it's like, man, like that was freaking fun. So yeah, it's crazy to say like the most fun year I've ever had playing baseball was when I didn't get to play anymore.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's some powerful stuff, Tucker, man. And I really appreciate you sharing all that with us, man.
Yeah.
I know we could talk baseball all day long.
Yeah.
We're going to get you back on, and we're going to cover some more stuff,
For
dude.
sure.
But, man, I really appreciate the time you shared with us today.
Cheers. Thanks for having me, brother.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, man.
5, 4, 3,